Hi everybody, welcome to this Friday's crochet tutorial, Yarn Scrap Friday, and this tutorial is actually going to be for some scratch mittens, and that's because I had a request from a lovely lady called Holly Dawn Spin via Facebook, and she asks me, do you have a tutorial for crocheting baby scratch mittens? And I've actually had two friends that have both had babies at the moment, literally days between them, and they don't even know each other. But one's had a baby boy and one's had a baby girl. And I thought, what a wonderful project. It's a brilliant idea from Holly and a wonderful gift idea for my friends. So I'm going to be making some little newborn scratch mitts. So we're going to be making the other one of these scratch mitts, and for this pattern we're going to be using two different types of blue, but of course you can use pink or you can use yellow or green, whatever colours you like, but I've used a DK light worsted weight yarn, and I'm going to be using a 3.5mm crochet hook, and of course it's always a good idea to have a pair of scissors, as I always do, and a yarn needle as well. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our light blue coloured yarn and we're going to chain 6 to begin. So we're going to be using our 3.5mm crochet hook. We're going to chain 6. Start a little slip knot. So I'm going to chain 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And we're going to work 2 single crochet in our second stitch from hook, so our second chain from hook. And our second stitch, we never count the loop on a hook. And there's our first chain there, and there's our second stitch down. So in that second one, we're going to work 2 single crochet. So that's 1 and 2. And when I work these stitches, I'm just catching that top piece of yarn. I'll show you on the next stitch. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches, so in the next 3 chains. So when you go in to your stitch and to your chain, we just want to make sure we're catching that top bit of yarn. There's a reason why, because we need to work back into these chains again in the opposite direction. So we're going to do a single crochet in the next stitch, and then we do 1 single crochet in the next stitch, again just making sure to catch that little bit of going under just that one bit of yarn, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, again just going underneath that one bit of piece of yarn, like so. So it looks a little bit like that. And in the very last chain we're going to do 2 single crochet, again just making sure just to go underneath that one bit of yarn. So there's 1 and another one in the same stitch. You go back into the same stitch and do another single crochet. So by the end of that first row you should have 7 stitches, 2, 4, 6 and 7, one on the end there. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work clockwise. So with the same side facing you, we're going to turn our work clockwise. We're going to work back into these chains again in the opposite direction. So we're in the first one, our very first chain, which is the same stitch as the last one we've just worked, we're going to work another 2 single crochets. So go back into that same stitch again, the one you've just worked the last 2 in, and work another 2. 1 and 2. And you'll find that your project wants to naturally turn clockwise as you work those 2 stitches. And now we're going to work, some of you may be familiar with this from some of my other videos, but if you're not, because you've only just worked into, you've only caught that top bit of yarn, you only went on underneath that one little piece of yarn, it means that you can see these stitches a lot easier. Let's move that tail out of the way. You can see these stitches still all the way down. It's a big one on the end. So there was our first one, we've just worked our 2 single crochet. So in that next one along there, you can see, I'm going to pop our hook in there. I'm going to work the tail end in as well. I'm just going to hold it like that. I'm going to work 1 single crochet in that next foundation chain, just to mirror the other row. And then in the next one, I'm going to work another single crochet, and then in the next one, you can see it there, I'm going to work 1 single crochet, and then that should leave you with 1 foundation chain. Again, it's nice and big, the one on the end, and in that last one we're going to work 2 single crochet. So that's what it means when a pattern says to work back into your foundation stitches, or turn your work clockwise and work back into those chains. It just means you worked along there and you've turned your work clockwise and you've worked back in the opposite direction. So by the end of that row, including the stitches, the 7 from this side, and now you've done 7 this side, you should have a total of 14 stitches. And now we're going to be working in the round, so we're going to just carry on going round and round and round now. So in the next stitch, so this one at the top here, this very first one here, we're going to work, what are we going to work? We're going to work 1 single crochet. So just make sure we catch up first bit and then second bit. Bring the yarn through and work 1 single crochet, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around back to the beginning. So you've still got a stitch count of 14, so let's count. So that was 1, 2, so just 1 single crochet in each stitch around, 3, 4, 13 and 14. So you're back where you started. You just worked 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Now working in the round along your first row and then your second row, and you should still have a stitch count of 14. Okay, so moving on to the next round, what we're going to do now is we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next stitch at the top again there, just by itself. Then we're going to do an increase of 2 single crochet. So in the next stitch we're going to do 2 single crochet in the same stitch. So that's 1, go back into the same stitch and do another one, so there's 2 in there. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4. So that's 1 by itself, 1 single crochet by itself, the next stitch, 1 by itself, the next stitch, and 1 single crochet by itself in the next stitch. Then we're going to do an increase again of 2 single crochet, so that's 1, and then go back into the same stitch and do another one, so you've got 2 in there, like that. Then 1 single crochet by itself in the next stitch, just 1 by itself, and then another increase on the corner again of 2 single crochet, so that's 1 and another one in the same stitch. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 4 to match this side, so it's 1 by itself, 1 by itself in the next stitch, 1 by itself in the next stitch, and 1 by itself in the next stitch. And in the very last stitch, back at the beginning, I'm just going to do 2 single crochet increase again, so that's 1, then go back into the same stitch and do another one. It's an increase. So you've got 4 increases. You've got 1 there, 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 and there at the end, so it's on each corner, and your stitch count now should be 18. You should have 18 stitches in total. And what we're going to do now, we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 2, so that's 1 by itself in the next stitch, then 1 by itself in the next stitch, then an increase again, matching up with your previous increase of 2 single crochet, so that's 2 in the same stitch, 1 and another one in the same stitch. And you should see it lines up with your previous increase on the previous round. Then we're going to do 1 single crochet in the next 5 this time, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, which then brings us to our next increase. You can see it there. So we're going to do 2 single crochet in the next stitch. So that's 1, and go back into the same stitch and do another one. So you've got 2 in there. You should see again it lines up with your previous increase. Then 1 single crochet in the next 2. So that's 1 by itself, and 1 by itself. Which brings us to our next increase, the next corner. So we're going to do 2 single crochet in there, 1, and go back into the same stitch and do another. Then we do 1 single crochet in the next 5 to match this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which brings us to our last stitch near the beginning, and we finish on an increase of 2 single crochet, 1, and go back into the same stitch for 2, so you've got 2 in there. And again, it should line up with your previous increases. So it should be increasing there, there, there and there again on the corners, and should look a little something like that. And you should have a stitch count now of 22 stitches all the way around. So now we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and we're going to do it for 9 rounds. So it's keeping a stitch count of 22. So we go straight into the next stitch and just do 1 single crochet by itself. We do 1 single crochet by itself in each stitch around. So you're keeping the same stitch count of 22, so no increases on the corner, just 1 in each stitch. And you want to do that for 9 rounds, so you might want to get a stitch marker to make sure you remember where to end, because we're working continuously. Okay, so I'm going to do that. 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 9 rounds, and then I shall come back. Okay, so I'm just going up to the last stitch, and what I've done is I've just worked 1 single crochet in each stitch around for our 9 rounds. What I did is I just put a little stitch marker near the beginning. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it just gives you an indication of where you start and finish. So I can take that out now, so I know I've ended in the right direction. And as you can see, because we've been working in the round, our last stitch ends up curving upwards. And if you follow, I bring my hook out, you follow the last stitch down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just below that you should see is your increase. So I know from that increase there, that's the last stitch there, last stitch there, last stitch there, all the way up. So I know that's the last stitch. Okay, so once you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to work 1 single crochet. Because it's moved over slightly, we want to get towards the edge corner here. So we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 2. That's just 1 by itself, then a 1 by itself, and then we're going to do a slip stitch in the next stitch, but instead of yarning over with our light blue, we're going to yarn over with our darker blue. So bring in our darker blue and putting your hook into that next stitch. Instead of yarning over with the light blue, I'm just going to put our tail end towards the top, as it were, and just holding it with our finger there. We're just going to pull that through our stitch and then our loop on our hook. So we're now working with our dark blue, and just holding that we can pull our light blue tail ends, just firm that into place. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, so 1 and 2. Then in the next stitch we're going to yarn over, then in the next stitch, not that one there but this next one along, we're going to do a double crochet. This is in US terminology. Double crochet, like so. We're going to do 1 double crochet in each stitch around, so you've still got a stitch count of 22, and we're counting our chain 2 as a double crochet as well. So that's 1 double crochet in each stitch around, like so. Just coming up to the last 2 stitches, 21 and 22, last one there. Then what we're going to do is, we're not working continuous rounds now, we're going to join our round and we're going to slip stitch into the top of our 2 chain. So there was our first chain, there's our second. So we're just going to slip stitch. There we go. Just bring that through. There we go. And if you want to at this stage, you can fasten off your light blue so it doesn't get tangled. And just pull your, make sure your tail ends are nice and tight. Okay. And what we're going to do now is we're going to work some double crochet front post stitches around. So what we're going to do first is yarn over, and then not your chains, but that first double crochet that we did. You can see the 2 big gaps either side, there and there. I'm going to put our hook. Obviously, if you're familiar with the front post stitch, you can crack on and work 1 double crochet front post stitch around each stitch around. But if you're new to it, what you do is you put your hook through that big gap there and around the back of the double crochet out through the next big gap. So it's just behind your double crochet. Then we're going to grab our yarn and we're going to bring it behind that double crochet post. So we've got our 3 loops, and then we just do our double crochet as normal. Pull through 2, pull through 2, and there you've created a double crochet front post stitch. As you can see, it's gone around the post of that double crochet instead of into the stitch. And we're going to do the same again all the way around. So you yarn over and you go into the gap there and come out the other side. You're going behind the next double crochet. And just bring that yarn around, do your double crochet, and just repeat that around. So there's our next double crochet. So we go behind it, grab our yarn and pull it through, and then do a double crochet. And just repeat that for each double crochet around. So you've still got a stitch count of 22. As you can see, it creates a ribbing effect. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going up to the last few double crochets, working those front post stitches. So this is the last double crochet, and then we're just left with our chain 2 at the beginning. So I've got our chain 2 there, and we just do exactly the same around our chain 2. I'll leave it to last rather than do it at the beginning because it's easier to go straight onto that first double crochet. But we do exactly the same. We just go into that gap around our chain 2 and do your front post stitch like so. So you should still have a stitch count of 22. It should look a little something like that. And now what we're going to do, we're going to do some more double crochet front post stitches, but we're only going to do it in the next 9. So we're going to yarn over, and this time you don't want to go for that big gap because you want to move it up to the next level. So if you can, in between where all that clump of yarn is there, you stick your hook in the middle of there, and you should find that it pops behind and out the other side, in between the stitch below and the stitch above. So you might not be able to see it on the very first one, so just place your hook in the middle and then just push along, and you should find it comes out in between that bottom stitch and that top stitch through the gap, and that's where we want it to be. And again, just bring your yarn through and do your double crochet as normal. So do that in the next 9. So that's the first one. So the next one again, place in the middle and find that gap in between the stitches. There's the gap in between those stitches. Go behind the double crochet and out in between the bottom stitch and that top stitch. And do your front post stitch. So we'll do that in the next 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, some more yarn. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. Again, just going in between those stitches and around the back of the double crochet. 9, and now what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet front post stitch 2 together. So that sounds a bit scary, but do exactly the same. We yarn over, go in between those 2 stitches, behind the back, and out through between those 2 stitches, just like before. Bring the yarn through, but this time we're only going to go yarn through 2, and we're not going to complete our double crochet, we're going to stop. And we yarn over again and do the same for the next stitch, going between, behind, and out between those 2 stitches. So you've got 4 loops, and we yarn over and pull through 2, so you've got 3 left, yarn over, pull through all 3, and that double crochets front post stitches 2 together, if that makes sense. And then we go back to doing normal double crochet front post stitches, and we're going to do that in the next 9 again. So again, just going in between and out the back and back round. Do your front post stitch. That's in the next 9. So that's 1. Sorry about the background noise. 2. It's getting late actually. I'm getting hungry. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the last one 9. That should leave you with 2 stitches, even though you haven't been joining the round. So, but you are left with 2. There was the last one. There was the one we worked our front post stitch around the chain to. And we're going to double crochet front post stitch these 2 together as well. So we yarn over and go in that gap in between that top stitch and bottom stitch out to the back, and then behind, and then come out in between those stitches. Bring our yarn through, so you've got 3 loops, and yarn over, pull through 2, but stop. Then we yarn over again to repeat the process, go in between and out. Bring the yarn through, so you've got 4 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, pull through all 3. So it's like double crocheting 2 stitches together, but we're doing it around the front post stitches. And then we're finished. All we're going to do in that top stitch there, so not the gap, the actual top stitch, is going to work a slip stitch just to bring our pattern down, and then we cut our yarn, pull it up, and there we go. There's our finished mittens. All that's left to do is hide our tail ends, and I do that, I turn him inside out. It. And trim the bottom one down. Then we get our yarn needle. And what I do, I work on this top one first, we finished with. Thread it onto our yarn needle. And I just thread it over, because I want that to neaten down, so I'm going to come from the back there and into the next stitch. Just neaten that down. And then all I do is sew through neatly as you can, just any old stitches, keeping it in the same colour. Then go back the way you came, but obviously not directly back, because it will come undone. Just up like so, back down, skewer into place, and then we trim the excess down. And I'm just going to repeat that for the other 2 tail ends, and then I shall come back. Okay, so I've finished just tying in those ends, and then we're just popping back the right way around. And there we go. There's our finished mitten to match our other mitten. They are the same size, it's just this camera makes it look distorted. Yeah, and if you wanted to make it bigger, all you need to do is, I bring my oracle in for the written pattern, all you need to do, you can see I made a mistake here. This was our last increase round, round 5, where we did 1 single crochet in the next 2, then 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 5, 2 single crochet. We did that twice all the way around. We got our stitch count up to 22. So if you want to make it bigger, all you need to do after round 5, so round 6, instead of doing your 1 single crochet a round, just do 1 single crochet in the next 3, then 2 single crochet, then 1 single crochet in the next 6, then 2 single crochet, then repeat that again, 1 single crochet in the next 3 rather, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 6, and then 2 single crochet, and that will take your stitch count up to 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and all you need to do then is your 9 rounds of 1 single crochet in each round to get the length, keeping a stitch count of 26, and that'll make it a bit bigger. And you can keep following that method. If you want to make it even bigger, you could do round 7 would then be 1 single crochet in the next 4, 2 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 7, then 2 single crochet, so on and so forth, and then do your length. So that will help you to get it bigger. But what I'm going to do now is, you can also add a little bit of ribbon. So I might add a little bit of ribbon just to connect these, which could be undone and then they can separate, and then hopefully my friend will like them. So, and then I just need to make a pair in pink for my other friend if I have time. But I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. I hope you managed to follow along, and if you have any comments, then let me know in the comments below, or come to facebook.com/happybowcrochet. I'll also put a written version of this on my blog at some point, and that'll be on happybowcrochet.blogspot.com. So, and I shall see you next Friday for some more crochet fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Right, let's get some ribbon. Have you seen my ribbon pot? So much ribbon.